Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Chronicles, the Oklahoman's Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined by Jacob Unruh. Everybody's surprised, I know.
I'm back.
We had the big Jacob's going away party at the end of last season, but here he is, starting things out right off the top of the season. Exactly. You can't stay away from the Cowboy Chronicles. It's understandable. But as you can tell, we're not at Stonecloud. Hope to be back there at some point later this season. Lots of moving parts involved in the staff and different things around here. So I appreciate Jacob stepping out of a really busy role that he's in these days and helping me out with the podcast today. We'll keep these going throughout the season during the week, but been a little bit of a mess trying to get one lined up here during the preseason.
Yeah, so, I'm not exactly going to Stillwater with you all the time,
right?
And
more things on your plate than just Oklahoma State football.
More things on my plate now. The boys are getting big too, so it's just a lot of things happening.
Exactly.
But I'm excited. I can always join other times this season, hopefully. And,
absolutely.
Maybe even join you at Stonecloud and see Matt and everybody and have a beer. We'll still do the Stonecloud six-pack today.
We will.
Even though Stonecloud's not here, my six-pack is a Diet Dr. Pepper. I
got the energy drink.
The energy drink. So we're riding high today on caffeine.
Exactly. Well, we'll jump into a few different things. Being that it is the preseason edition here, we'll kind of look at some big picture things. We will do the Stonecloud six-pack, of course, three football topics, and then the draft, 3 rounds of the draft, which is somewhat football related, a little bit.
Yeah,
we'll get into all of that. But I had an interesting question today. I was at the chiropractor, and the lady that runs the office manager, she's not a big football fan, but she sort of keeps up with it a little bit. So she was like, I haven't really been paying attention. What's the big thing that people are talking about with OSU football right now? And it kind of stumped me because at this point in the season, from our vantage point, we're so deep into everything that sometimes you forget to step back and take a look at the big picture. So I know that I ended up telling her 2 things, and that's 2 things I've got down on our list to talk about. But I want to hear what comes to mind when you hear that question.
Oh man, I think people are talking about. I mean, there's no OU now.
Right.
I think that's still a big topic among people. Is that when you take the big aerial view of the season, I think that's a big topic. There's no OU Texas, so the Big 12 is a little different, and I think there's that, and I just think that I think NIL still is a big topic too with this team. I just with the QR codes and things like that they're doing now, I think that when I look at those 2 things, I think that's kind of what overarching, at least from the topic discussion, because I think everyone knows they've got Ollie Gordon, they've got a bunch of guys back. The defense is probably right there in the top of that, couple lists there too. But I kind of think NIL and the new look Big 12. Yeah.
So the new look Big 12 was the first thing that I came up with. The weirdness of not having Bedlam is going to be definitely a topic throughout the year. And then when you get down to the team itself, I think just how good is this defense going to be? I think is the big question that people are really curious about. So it's a really interesting season. Going all the way back to January or March when spring ball started, it felt like we were right back in November because it was all the same dudes doing all the same stuff, and it felt just very familiar. And that has continued on into fall camp and into the preseason as they're getting ready to play South Dakota State.
It's kind of boring.
A little bit, yeah.
Like I'm not saying this team is boring.
Right.
They've got a lot of good personalities.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't been around them as much as you lately, obviously, but I know a lot of them still because they're the same guys that I've been covering for years.
Exactly.
But that kind of makes it mundane a little bit as far as what to talk about this team.
Yeah, it has absolutely felt that way. We've tried to do things during the preseason like looking at position battles and new starters, and those are just very short lists because so many starting jobs are already spoken for, and guys aren't doing anything to suggest they shouldn't have that job anymore. And the opportunity for new guys to come in and start on this team is very much limited. Depending on how you count a returning starter, you can look at this team and say they've got 20 guys back on offense and defense in starting roles.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
They're the oldest team in America?
They've got to be.
Like, yeah.
I would assume so. I mean, I haven't seen any stats suggesting otherwise.
Definitely the oldest offensive line.
Oh, yeah. I wrote this in the paper the other day. I can't imagine there's ever been an older offensive line.
They're all married with like 3 kids by now, I think.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's,
Yeah, and a quarterback who's about to be on AARP.
Yeah.
So,
and then you got the young pup running behind him. So.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the other weird thing. He's in his 3rd year. Dude is still only 20
years old. Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic that they've got with those guys. Well, let's start with Ollie. We're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but probably one of the questions that I get asked the most from just the casual fan is, can Ollie Gordon win the Heisman? And there's a lot that has to go into that.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole dynamic of it's really become a quarterback award. There's only 4 guys since 2000 that did not play quarterback who have won the award. 3 of them were from Alabama, 2 running backs and a receiver, and then you throw in Reggie Bush back in 05, which he got his trophy back.
He got his back. He's got the Heisman. So
yeah. The ability to win this award not as a quarterback is really difficult. You look at Vegas odds, and there are guys who've hardly played that are ahead of him in Vegas odds. Because they're quarterbacks.
I think it's going to take a couple things. I think he may have to reach 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
I don't think if you reach 2,000, if you don't reach 2,000 yards as a running back, I don't know that you're going to get in the conversation. OSU's got to be very good again in the win-loss record, and I think you've almost got to hope for some mediocre quarterback play across the country.
Yeah.
I think you've got to hope maybe some guys cancel themselves out.
Right.
Maybe a Dylan Gabriel and a Will Howard at Ohio State, 'cause I know he's high up in there.
Right.
Like maybe they both have similar numbers and similar records with their teams. That how do they split the vote or something and help Ollie get up there more? Things like that. I think there's going to have to be a lot of things. He can win the Heisman, I think. I'm not going to rule it out because if he goes out there and just is the workhorse again and runs for 2,000 yards and scores 20 touchdowns, and OSU is in the Big 12 title game with, say, 1 loss or something or undefeated, it's going to be hard to ignore that.
Right.
But you've also got to deal with Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia, like quarterbacks there that can go and put up numbers, and people are going to look at them and say, well, they're doing it, at this level, at this conference and this, I don't want to say level. I mean, Big 12 is still Power 4, but
Yeah.
you're still doing it at a conference that's a little more regarded a little bit better than Big 12.
Yeah. So out of all the stuff we just talked about that needs to go Ollie's way, what's the most important thing? What's the top of the list?
For him to get the Heisman?
Yeah.
OSU has to win.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say as well. If he runs for 2,300 yards, and they win 9 games, he's not going to get any.
Which is, that's what happened to Chuba.
Yeah, exactly.
Chuba had an argument in 19 to be in the Heisman contender, to be invited to New York, and they didn't win enough.
Right.
So, nothing he did wrong. They just didn't win enough.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So I think that's absolutely the one thing that I feel like he's got everything else. He's got the production. He's got the highlight plays.
Yeah.
He's got the personality in front of the camera to make people like him, which I do think there's a good chunk of this that's a popularity contest.
Oh yeah.
And so that's absolutely part of it. And so I think he's got everything else, but he needs maybe an 11-win team, a Big 12 champion.
And on top of those wins, he's going to have to say they need to beat Utah, Kansas State back-to-back weeks.
Right.
He's going to have big games then.
Yeah.
He can't have just obliterate everyone else and then struggle in those games. They're going to look at that too. But they've got to win first, though.
Yeah. Exactly. To the defense, what would you say is the key to this defense being better this season?
Pressuring the quarterback.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough of that last year. It was a Jim Knowles specialty, obviously, to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
He was very good at scheming that. He had really good pass rushers. And they still had good pass rushers last year. Maybe not the depth that they had before with Knowles and even Mason. But I think they've answered that. I think they've looked to address it. I don't think they've answered it yet. We don't know, but they've addressed it. You know, you're going to get more Colin Oliver, I think, rushing. Kendall Daniels rushing the quarterback. Like, goodness gracious.
Right.
I'm not great with the names of the guy from Gannon.
Obi Ezigbo.
Obi is Ezigbo?
Just Obi. You can call him Obi.
Obi, okay.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi there is gonna be a little bit better than people expect from what I understand. So you got that, and I think Nick Martin's still a guy that can come and get the quarterback. I think they're going to do some mix and match in there. And I like the four-man front when you put Kirkland and Colin Clay together. I think that's going to cause a lot of problems too and open up things on the edge. So I think they've kind of addressed it in a way that I'm really curious to see how it works out.
Yeah.
And this week's going to be a good test.
Right.
Because South Dakota State's got a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call him Gronkowski, but it's Gronowski.
Yes.
And I think you've got to get to him or they're going to have a long day too.
Right. And he can take off and run.
Yeah.
Rushed for almost 500 yards last year. Not going to be afraid. He's a big dude, 230 pounds, so he's not going to be afraid of contact. We'll get into that game a little bit more before we get to the Stonecloud six-pack. But I fully agree that it all starts with the pass rush. The absence of the pass rush last year, I think, created a lot of problems for the secondary.
Yes.
You saw a lot of plays that dragged on and on and on, and guys eventually got open. I think that you get better pass rush, you improve your secondary play, you bring down your pass yardage allowed. They were 123rd out of 130 teams last year in pass yardage allowed per game.
But the thing was, it was big plays.
It
like
was.
you said, like it wasn't like they were just getting dinked and dunked on all day.
Right.
They adjusted to that kind of stuff well. They kept getting burned on big plays.
Yeah.
I remember just watching it. It was just like, there goes, a guy past Cam Epps or a guy past Trey Rucker.
Right.
And it wasn't anything they did wrong necessarily. They just ran out of gas or lost the step because, the quarterback had all day back there to find these guys.
Yeah, exactly. So let's briefly talk about this week because it is a fascinating game. Oh, we didn't even offer for our wonderful viewers on YouTube to go drop a score prediction in the comments, and so hopefully next week, if I'm at Stonecloud, I can drink a beer for the winner, whoever is closest in the score prediction. But go do that in the comments. But this is a fascinating game. Single-digit spread, at least it was last time I looked. I'm not sure what it is today, but single-digit spread for a Power 4 versus an FCS program. That's just shows you the magnitude of this matchup. And I don't see Oklahoma State blowing this team out.
No. I think it was, you said 9-point spread, 9.5?
9.5 was the last I saw.
I picked 9 for our predictions.
Yeah.
So I think OSU's going to win, but it's going to be really hard to put this team away. But I think they're going to wear them down because they're going to be bigger up front. And I know the weather's been kind of weird in South Dakota. I saw one day it was 1 billion degrees there, and some days it's not. I'm not going to pretend to play weatherman there, but I think they're just going to have that advantage eventually. But this team's going to push them, and they're going to find out a lot about themselves, which I think is good. This non-conference, you've got South Dakota State. Then you got Arkansas, which, lower level SEC. That's going to be a good test still, though. Tulsa can be, tricky, hit or miss.
Right.
And it's going to be in Tulsa. So I think they're going to learn a lot of themselves. But the way South Dakota State believes in themselves, I think gives them an ability to come in and compete, unlike a lot of other FCS teams.
There's no fear involved here. There's no let's survive and get to the next week healthy. There's none of that going on in this scenario. And with how well known Oklahoma State's offense is because of what they showed last year and how many guys they've got back. They've been preparing and watching film and all of those things for weeks and weeks and weeks. I did
find it interesting how the South Dakota State coach talked about facing Ollie Gordon and defending him. It made me think it's exactly what OSU's built here, is that if you want to load the box and go after Ollie, and you've got all these receivers out there that can burn you. And if you want to slow them down and spread the box out, Ollie's going to get you because all he needs is a seam because he's so fast. So I think that's going to be their biggest struggle too, is just figuring out how to cover this OSU offense, which I think could have a chance to be one of the better ones they've had in a few years.
Right, exactly. You brought up weather. I'll address that really quickly because I angered some people in South Dakota. It's my mea culpa. I apologize.
I did get a text from a South Dakota State fan that I know.
Yeah.
About you.
Yes, it doesn't surprise me. Now, the truth is, 2 weeks ago,
I don't know what you did.
What happened is that the temperature that's expected on Saturday has come down significantly.
Right.
2 weeks ago, we were expecting 98.
Yeah.
And
to be fair, the last couple of weeks it's been 150 degrees outside.
Yes, it's been ridiculous. Yeah. Average temperature this summer or this month in Brookings, South Dakota has been 79. Average high. They have some days where they get up around 84. It does get very humid, so that's not going to be anything new to them. So you look at what we're expecting on Saturday now, 85 and humid, possibly some rain. Not going to be anything that's out of the realm of what they can handle. Now, when it was going to be mid 90s or higher, then this was a bigger storyline because OSU's been practicing, especially here since school started, 3 to 5 p.m. on 100-degree days. 92 would feel like it would be a welcome change.
Yeah.
So now the weather thing, outside of possible rain, not going to be the advantage that we thought Oklahoma State might have there. Let's be honest. This is why, even though Mike Gundy says he had nothing to do with scheduling this as a 1 p.m. game, that's why this is a 1 p.m. game.
Yeah.
Because they wanted a team from South Dakota coming in here and playing in 100-degree heat. So. Anyway,
it'll be hotter than what it is too on the turf. So
it will be. You don't get a lot of breeze in Boone Pickens Stadium. Hydration.
Unless they added it with the renovations.
maybe they put in some seat fans that they can turn toward the field and blow on those guys.
We'll open up some things and a breeze will come in somehow.
Yeah, exactly. But so any South Dakota State fans that are upset with me about the weather comments, it's all gone out the window now because it's going to be 85 and humid and it's going to feel like Brookings, South Dakota in Stillwater.
Oh,
it's not going to impact the game.
I really did get a text. It cracked me up. I didn't even respond. I need to respond. I'll respond to my friend later.
No.
I was busy yesterday when he texted me, and I was like, "What is happening?"
Whenever we post this, just text him a link to the podcast. Let him enjoy it. So, okay, moving on. I think let's head on to the Stonecloud six-pack and wrap up this first edition of the Cowboy Chronicles.
This is fun. I did my homework like always.
Yes. 2 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. We'll go with some broader season stuff. This is where, before we start. 9.5 point spread this week. Oklahoma State cover. We both said they're not going to blow them out.
I said no.
I was with you too. I think this will be.
I picked a 9-point deficit. I don't remember what the exact score was. I sent you for our article.
I don't remember.
It was.
But yeah,
they're 33-24. I think is what I put.
Okay. So. Yeah, something in that range. I'm kind of in the same range.
Yeah.
I think it'll be. It could be a one possession game in the fourth quarter. I could absolutely see that. All right, now to the Stonecloud six-pack. Okay. And hopefully next time we do this, we'll be at Stonecloud enjoying Stonecloud beer.
This Diet Pepper six-pack is kind of lame.
I should have started the show with "What are you drinking?" like we always do. Stonecloud, that would have been more entertaining.
All right. Describe my Diet Pepper for everybody.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to start off full season, big picture, regular season only, of course. Over or under 9.5 wins for the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
They played 13 games, right?
No, 12. I'm not counting Big 12 championship or
12. I'm used to 13 because they've actually been going there the last couple of years.
Right.
I'm going to go over.
You're going to go over 9.5. All right.
I'm going to do it.
I'm actually going to go under. I think they're a 9-win team. I think 9 wins though might be enough to get them into the Big 12 championship.
I think I might have picked them 9-3 whenever you and I were doing the game by game breakdown this summer. But I almost went 10-2. So I think that's where I'm hanging around.
I can see that. You look at some of the potential roadblocks, some of the really good teams like Utah, Kansas State early on, then some more unique roadblocks like BYU on a Friday night or at TCU.
The TCU game still scares me because I've seen too much weird things happen to OSU and Fort Worth. So
they have not played well down there the last few trips.
So that's one of those ones I think I'm kind of chalking up right now as one of the losses.
Another one, Black Friday at Colorado. I have no idea. I don't know. Colorado might have 2 wins or 2 losses at that point. I have no idea what that team is going to be.
That's
true. There's a lot.
They've got North Dakota State tonight. We're doing this on a Thursday.
Exactly.
And that's another really good FCS team. They might beat Colorado.
They might. That would be very intriguing. All right. True, false for number 2 in the Stonecloud six-pack. True or false? Ollie Gordon will be in the top 4 of the Heisman voting which would most likely get him to New York and me to New York in December.
I'm going to go false.
I'm actually going true on this one.
Okay.
I think he's going to do enough, and OSU does enough to get him to New York.
I just don't think the voters are enough. I just think I think he does enough that he should be there, and I think OSU is going to do enough that he has a chance. But I don't trust the system at this point.
Right. I don't think they win enough for him to get the trophy.
Yeah.
But I think he can get himself in the top
That'd
four.
be good.
That'd
be good for you. So you can New York Christmas time in New York.
All for that.
You know.
No complaints there. Last one we'll say with another individual player. We talked about Colin Oliver and how things are going to change for him. Being
friend of the podcast, Colin Oliver. We got to remember to call him friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast, Colin Oliver. Over or under 9.5 sacks for Colin Oliver this season.
What did he have last year again?
6 last year, if I remember right.
9.5. I'm going to go.
You factor in how much more he's going to be
rushing. I'm going to go over. I just think he's going to have a
well.
huge year, get himself in the first day conversation in the draft. I'm going over.
And I want to say he's either 11.5 or 12.5 behind Leslie O'Neal for the all-time school record.
Ooh, and the year Leslie O'Neal goes in the Ring of Honor.
Exactly.
That's intriguing. If they get in the playoff too, it could really stack up there.
Exactly.
So,
could be
it.
very interesting to see how he makes a run at that. He was what did he have 12 his freshman year? So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the back half of the Stonecloud
This
six-pack.
is always the best part.
Always a fun part. And now this week, inspired by the fact that Oklahoma State is playing the South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
This is a great mascot.
Amazing. We're having lots of fun with it on our game predictions in the paper.
You guys took all the heroines for me though, so I had to think of something different.
Yeah. All the really good.
I was late to respond. All the rabbit ones were gone.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But that brings us back to our high school roots, covering Oklahoma high schools. We're going to draft our favorite Oklahoma high school team nicknames.
All right.
And because I'm such a great guy, as always, I will let you go first.
I'm going to go with the Okeene Whippets.
That was high on my list.
Whippets, that's such a great mascot. I mean, it's a dog. It's a race dog. Like, I love it. I went out there and did a story forever ago when I was on the prep beat, and just to see the mascot and play and things. I think they actually have a live whippet.
Do they? I've never been out there for a game.
I'm not 100% sure. I didn't go out there for the game, but I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
Which is a super cool idea to me. So you gotta go with Whippets.
Nothing wrong with that. Not gonna debate. I'm having a little bit. I'm trying to set my draft order in my brain here because there's one that I want to make sure I get.
Okay.
But I feel like I can maybe push it down a little bit.
Maybe so.
So I am.
Especially since you've been thinking about this longer than I have.
Yes, I absolutely have. But I'm going to start. My first pick is going to be the Alva Goldbugs.
That's a good one too.
They play it so well because their girls teams are the Ladybugs, which I also love.
Yeah.
Fantastic all the way around. Everything about it is spectacular.
That's a tough one right there.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, round 2, back to you, Jacob.
See, I like the different ones. I'm not going to go lions or tigers or bears or, whatever.
Bulldogs, there's a million
bulldogs. Goodness. I'm going to go with, why am I blanking now? The Elgin Owls.
That's a solid one.
I like the Owls.
That's good.
It's a good one. I've covered them before in my Lawton days. I know people out there. No one has owls anywhere else.
Right.
And that's a really cool, they got great logos, great color scheme with it. I like the Owls.
As a mascot, owls are a little bit creepy to me.
Yeah.
Something kind of peculiar.
Fun fact, there's a cemetery right next to their stadium, right behind the end zone.
Ooh,
so all of a sudden you've got an owl and you got cemetery. I covered a Halloween game there one time. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a little bit off. But I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
For my second pick, I am going to go with, this is not an incredibly unique one, but it's a little bit unique, but definitely fun because of the play on words, the Bray Donkeys.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's yeah.
It's to be willing to do that. I think is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So to have the guts to go out there and be a little bit silly with it.
I like
fantastic.
it. Yeah.
All right, last pick.
I'm doing this one for multiple reasons. It's another one that I don't know of another mascot that has it. But I also like there's some humor to it. The Claremore zebras.
I thought about this
mainly because they're red. Their colors are red. It's a red zebra.
Yeah.
And it just always cracks me up. I'm like, that one just blows my mind. So I like that one. I'm gonna go there.
No, nothing wrong with that. I don't know why this just popped in my head as we were talking about this. My least favorite one. No offense to the folks of Elk City, but the Elk City Elks.
Yeah, or the Foxes.
Foxes. I'm down. I'm down on those, particularly Elk City Elks, because we all know that elk is both singular and plural.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a grammatical annoyance on my part. Okay, is it my turn now?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, wrap it up. A lot of folks probably that know me have been waiting for me to pick this one. It would have been my first pick, but I felt like I could save this one for the end. I'm going with my hometown, Yukon Millers.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't always feel this way about our Miller nickname because every time I went to compete or went as a fan for one of our teams, somebody from the other school every time was, what's a Miller? And so you had to explain what the mill was. And, there's some people in Oklahoma, I do not know any of these people, but I've heard from them that refer to moths as millers.
Oh.
That's another name for that type of bug.
Huh.
I had never heard that. And that's what there were a lot of people that thought that's what we were named after.
That's the first time I've ever heard this.
Yeah.
So it's news to me.
If you'd been a Miller, you would have learned.
I was a Trojan.
I was going to ask what you guys were.
Canyon Valley is Trojans, and we were red and black. So around the Tulsa area, anytime I wore anything Trojan, just had like a Trojan head. It said Trojans. People thought I was from Jinx.
Jinx boy.
But I was like, it's not Jinx. Jinx is not. They're maroon. They're not.
Right.
But it didn't matter.
Didn't matter. No, I understand that. All right. Well, with that, I think that wraps up our first edition here of the Cowboy Chronicles. We'll see how much Jacob gets to join me throughout the season or what other wild and wacky special guests I might have at different times. But thank you, Jacob, for stepping in. We'll be coming to you hopefully from Stonecloud next week, but we'll see. Never know. But thank you for watching and or listening to the Cowboy Chronicles.